All right, Pisces, this one is a little bit like low feeling. Now, I kind of get like an Eight of Cups vibe from both of these, but let's get into this. So shine bright like a candle. You will make it through this. And then unfinished symphony. Now, shine bright like a candle is basically saying that you can't let your light go out. It's saying that you can bounce back. It's talking about resilience and endurance and making it through a hard time and being hopeful about the future. It's saying that your divine light is strong, but the problem here is unfinished symphony. You know, so it really is about getting closure on something that may have not really ended, but has been like left in limbo, so to speak. You know, but you're going to have to do what's necessary to kind of accept that a situation isn't going anywhere and bring it to that finish. So unfinished symphony, it says, this is a time to tie up loose ends as you near the completion of a cycle or project and mastery of a lesson or skill. Before you can move forward, it's important that you come to terms with where you are now. Practice radical acceptance. Take inventory so that emotional and psychological closure can occur, and the answers you seek will be found. You can't move forward if you are leaving things unfinished, but I don't think that this is something that you intended to leave unfinished. And that's my thing here. You know, it does. It has the feeling of the Eight of Cups. But, you know, basically here, it's going to be about you doing what's necessary to get closure on something. All right, Pisces. Here's your overall. The King of Swords. Okay. And we'll see how this is playing out. Now, for some of you, absolutely, it's going to be about a person that you're dealing with. Somebody who maybe, you know, being more logical than emotional. Like, I feel emotionally cut off. Like, you know, trying to reason why things are going the way that they are. You know, but the King of Swords is coming from a place of truth, right? Now, on the other hand, though, you know, like I've always said with him, he walks a fine line. It just depends here. Air sign, male, female, doesn't matter to me. But then the other thing is if this is you, you know, are you trying to rationalize everything that's going on and not opening up emotionally? You know, but like I said, for some of you, it's going to be about somebody who is like not looking at the emotional aspect. And I get that more than anything. And that's just from the Oracle cards, but we'll see here. Oh boy. All right. So in the past, the Devil. So in the past, we're talking about you being in a situation that is unhealthy for you, dealing with somebody who has a lot of negative issues. Now, if we're talking about you, it's about, you know, whatever negative things have been affecting your life in the past, you know, but it's good to see it in the past because, you know, we have a chance here to kind of get past this. But for some of you, I mean, absolutely, it's going to be connected to a person. The big thing that I'm getting from the Devil this week is that, especially when it's attached to a court card, it's not necessarily your own personal demons. But it's because you allowed yourself to be in a situation with somebody who has those issues, it is negatively affecting you in your life. So it's not necessarily your issues, but somebody else's, but it is affecting you. Okay, and then there's your closure right there, the World. So, you know, the only thing that bothers me is that we're still looking at the Devil coming through. I would rather have seen the World as the past. So there may still be some negative things here that, you know, you're trying to get closure on. Somebody else may be trying to get closure on, you know. But the World is always a really good completion, you know, but I feel like this is about, it's there, it's right there in front of you in the present moment. But it's going to be about, you know, the next steps that you take to kind of close this situation out. But we'll see here. The Queen of Pentacles. So with the Queen of Pentacles being in future conditions, you know, even if the King of Swords is the person that you're dealing with her being there, I think that a lot of you are getting to this place where you're understanding that what you're needing from another person, you're not going to get. And then you have this closure happening, but with the Queen of Pentacles, you're talking about somebody who knows how to create what they want. She knows how to create security and stability on her own. Now, for some of you, you may be in a spot where, this person may be making you feel insecure. And what I worry about here, and I say this because of the devil still coming through. What I worry about here is that there's still, an attachment there. But it's not, emotionally naive or anything like that. It's just based in insecurities. But my hope here is that you kind of get to a place where, you're finding sort of independence away from this person and away from the negative things that are attached to them. I mean, definitely we could be talking about an unhealthy obsession with the devil and getting closure on that, and then moving into a place where you're more secure with yourself. And not so dependent on this person, bringing you some level of personal security. You know what I'm saying? But with the Queen of Pentacles, this to me is more so about what you're internalizing moving out of this. And I think that this King of Swords here is going to be your main focus, or the main person that you're dealing with. Now, this could be, romantic relationship, friends, work, just depends. Okay. I swear to God, the theme this week seems to be that, people are needing answers, but I'm telling you, with the Page of Swords showing up the way that it is, you're not going to get the answers that you're looking for. And again, it brings me back to this place of you're going to have to find closure on your own. And I think that you realize that moving into future conditions. The Page of Swords is your best path to follow. This is, oh man, it drives me nuts because you have the King of Swords. So, this is somebody who is trying to rationalize why they are not telling you everything that you're needing to know. Well, you don't really need to know this. I don't really need to answer your questions. But with the Page of Swords, we're talking about half-truths. I always question the truth with the Page of Swords because, again, it's naive energy. This person can use information any way that they choose for their own benefit. But I think that it's deflection, almost. There are some things that maybe this person doesn't want to face about the past and the negativity in the past, And for you, it may be having to face an unhealthy obsession. And that could go either way here, whether we're talking about you or the other person. But the Page of Swords, I'm telling you, this is not having full disclosure. You're not going to get the information that you need before you decide to do anything involving this person. No matter what they are telling you, you're going to have to ask questions, but also understand that you may not get the answers you want to hear. Wow, Pisces, who in the hell are you dealing with? And it's almost like they are, I don't want to judge him, but I don't like the fact that there's a feeling of, not having any kind of emotional, openness at all toward you. It's like they don't really feel anything one way or the other, or at least that's what they're trying to put off to you. Because maybe there are things that they don't want to talk to you about. But for you, I don't think that that's one of those things where you're just willing to accept that, especially given the fact that the devil is the past experience. Something negative happened in the past. And with the world being there, oh, Pisces, right? And things just kind of being in limbo, And I think that for a lot of you, this is going to be about a person that you're just going to have to let go of. The Hangman being in your environment with the world, that opportunity to get closure is right there. But I think in the present moment, you're putting yourself on hold. But I think it's going to be because of this person and the way that they are and the way that they communicate to you. I don't think that you're ready to just kind of wipe your hands of it just yet. Now, for some of you, absolutely, it's you're waiting on this person to get over their own personal demons here and get closure on that so you can kind of move forward. But what I worry about is whether we're talking about security or insecurity with her. Because any kind of a court card match with a sword suit is not going to be easy at all. Especially with this little bastard being here. But nothing is really happening and nothing is really moving forward. You know? Your hopes and your fears, and it makes sense to me with the Ten of Swords, right? Not wanting to have this situation end. And that's kind of the feeling that I get from the Oracle cards anyway. You know? But the fear there is definitely that this situation is going to end in a painful way rather than you feeling good about getting closure on this. You know, but again, like I can't shake the feeling of if you're dealing with this person that this is somebody that you're going to have to do what you can to let go of them. Because I'm not seeing anything good surrounding this person. They are going to continue to put your life on hold. They're not going to answer the questions that you have. There's still negativity attached to this. And you're already fearing that, you know, things are going to go really wrong really quick with the Ten of Swords. And then coming out the Knight of Pentacles, you know, let me clarify this, because the feeling that I get from this with the Knight of Pentacles, first of all, you're talking about slow and steady, things moving slowly. But if you stick to the plans that you've set, eventually you get to a place where you start to see, you know, what you're wanting. You know, but are you moving into this place of they're just kind of like putting you in the friend zone though too? Because that does come up with the Knight of Pentacles. You know, is that kind of where things are? You know, but we're still looking at things going at a really slow pace here with the Knight of Pentacles. And then the King of Cups. So, and here is where, you know, I'm like, all right, so do we give this person the benefit of the doubt? But the problem is here, and this is what I'm talking about, there are things that they don't want you to know about their past. That, and they don't want to answer questions in regards to, you know, whatever bad things have happened in the past, you know, wherever there was, you know, the oppression, you know, because the devil is nothing good. With the Five of Pentacles, you know, you're talking about not being involved. You know, so there may have been like a feeling of rejection. There may have been like this feeling of like not knowing what's going on with this person because they are trying to keep you out of what they are dealing with. They don't want you to know. They don't want you to be involved. They want you to just stay in your own spot, you know, like no. You know, now, like I said, for some of you, it's just going to be like straight up rejection and then unhealthy obsession. Now, with the World and the Hangman, the thing is that you have this opportunity to get closure on that. And unfortunately, though, with the Hangman, you're waiting. And with the Three of Wands, it just like reaffirms that. You're on hold, waiting for something to happen, waiting for something to come to you involving this person that's either going to get closure on the situation entirely or closure on the fact that you are rejected, cast aside, or not involved with what was going on with this person. But then coming out with the King of Cups, and here's the thing. So I feel like, and I feel pulled because I want to tell you that, you know, maybe, because the thing is I'm not getting a clear answer as to whether or not that devil is going to be completely cleared up. Especially with the fact that you're put in this like state of limbo, right? And I don't think that this person is stalling. I think that this is what you're doing to yourself because you're waiting. You're waiting for another side of them to show up that you know is there. With the King of Cups, we're talking about somebody who is emotionally open, loving, supportive, you know, but again, right? This person definitely has some issues, but it's directly affecting you. And in the way that it affects you is there may be an unhealthy attachment because of, you know, the want to be around them, but that's because you know a different side. But what you're seeing is something that you may not recognize in this person, where they're trying to keep you completely out of their life. You know, but then is it like, well, I want you to come back, you know? So with the Knight of Pentacles, you know, if you hang in there and you realize that there are some things that they don't want to tell you, or that they don't want to talk to you about, can you, you know, hang in there long enough for, you know, them to eventually start to open up? Because the thing is with the Three of Wands, we're talking about you already knowing what to expect. And then you have the King of Cups following that, you know? And this is what I'm saying. Like, I feel like I don't want to judge him, but at the same time, that's bullshit to me, because it's like, well, why didn't you just tell me? Why don't you just talk to me? It doesn't make sense, you know? I would say to you, Pisces, that you're going to have to find a way to get closure on, you know, where you feel like you have been rejected. And then, you know, with the devil there, whatever that situation is with this person, you're going to have to do what's necessary. Don't put your life on hold. You need to find your own personal security here, and don't put it in the hands of someone else, even though you may know a different side of them. You know, it's going to take a while. It's going to take a while before you kind of get to this point here where, you know, maybe they become a little bit more emotionally open. You know what I mean? Like, I have hope in the King of Cups, but we're still talking about, you know, you feeling like the situation is going in a really bad direction, because I'm looking at the Ten of Swords and shine bright like a candle and going, yeah, like, I know that feeling. All right, I'm going to shut the hell up. Let's take a look at the soul trees and energy. So that's going to be about new energy and you knowing, like psychically knowing. And then not only that, but like possibly a psychic connection. It's crazy. You know, it brings me back to that King of Cups, because I don't want to look at that and say, oh yeah, he's got some problems. You know, because, I mean, look at him. I mean, the motherfucker's drinking his own cup. Like, come on, dude. You know, right? And with the devil being there, but I don't feel that, though, and that's the thing. And you know, though, you know a different side. So something is emerging within you and with this situation. Psychically, you know that there is a possibility for new energy to kind of be breathed into this situation. But you're also going to have to trust your psychic knowing when it comes to why certain things have happened or why certain things are going on. Because, you know, as far as direct communication, you're not going to get that, you know. Journey by moonlight, believe in magic. So, you know, I want to tell you, and this is just me personally by looking at this, I want to tell you that, you know, maybe the situation just needs to be done, right? But the thing is you know, it reminds me of the saying that we don't know what goes on behind closed doors. You know what I'm saying? So fogged in, the situation is not clear. Things are not clear. You're going to have to go slow and take time. And with the Knight of Pentacles, it makes sense. You know, but you're going to have to make sure that you feel secure in that. You know, but with psychic knowing, there's something that you know that I can't explain to you, even by looking at this. Even though I could look at this and go, no, don't do this. It's time to kick rocks. Seriously, right? But I don't know. You do. You know. And you see it coming. And that's the kicker here. Journey by moonlight, believe in magic. Even though things are not clear, it's definitely about you trusting in the unknown. And then not only that, but then seeing, you know, the magic of the situation kind of unfold. Anybody in their right mind looking at this would tell you, don't do this. Don't do this to yourself. Don't put your life on hold. It's time to move on. But, you know, who the hell am I to say that, right? This is like a huge reminder for me that, like, you know, I may be able to see the situation, But I certainly can't judge another person based on, the negative things that are going on, because you know better than anybody what goes on behind those closed doors.